Hi Dollar Divas, welcome to Behind the Vanity. I'm Jessica. So today is kind of a different video. It's a chatty get ready with me, but we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and I wanted to share my 9/11 story with you. I think I actually talked a little bit about it in a get ready with me like a couple years ago when I first started my channel, but I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about the day and my experience, and I'm very blessed that it's not a serious story. It's just a story. It's where I was, what I was doing, why I was there. I was in fact there that day, and so I did want to share it with you because I've promised you guys that I was going to share more about my performing life and just kind of who I am, and this is a big part of who I am. I mean, it's a part of all of us as Americans, of course, but yeah, I do have a close tie to that day, and I just wanted to share it with you, put on some makeup, and just tell you about it and go into detail. I also wanted to show you pictures from around that time, and it's not serious, but it is my story, and I did want to share it with you. So we're gonna get this makeup look. I'm using a few products that are new to me, and I just wanted to explain the circumstances and the events leading up to why I was there that day and what it was like for me. So if that sounds good to you and you want to hear my story, definitely keep on watching. As always, we're going to start with the eyebrows, and today I'm using this is from the Dollar Tree. It's the LA Colors Brow Cream Gel. This is not a new product, and this is in dark brown. So actually, for many years when I was a teenager, I wanted to actually be a country singer, and I never really dreamed of becoming like a pop star. I mean, of course I dreamed of it, but didn't really think it would be something that I would do. I loved country music and that kind of thing, and I guess a part of me feels like I never would have been able to have been a pop star. So anyways, so I start out by saying that. So I was a big reader, and if you're about my age, mid-30s, maybe a little older, a little younger, you'll remember all the magazines. Of course, like 17 was a really big one, but there was also YM magazine. And when I was reading it, that stood for Young and Modern. Apparently, like the generation before me knew it as Young Miss. And I don't think they're still in production anymore. So anyways, so I used to buy all those magazines all the time. And this was probably, it might have been somewhere in 2000. I was reading YM magazine, and there was an ad in there to like be in a girl group. And so I kind of took it to my dad, and I was like, Dad, maybe I should send something in, not thinking I was gonna get picked, of course, So we did. The only footage we had was like live video that my dad took of me at like different like little benefits and things, performing just, for free. I didn't get paid up to this point for anything that I did. And, I was singing country music, of course, probably wearing a cowboy hat. I used to perform quite a bit, almost every weekend. And I had to sing a lot of classic country because the bands that I would sing with, they didn't know the newer stuff. So I had to learn a lot of the classics. So, Crazy by Patsy Cline, and Walking After Midnight by Patsy Cline, and, Tanya Tucker, and gosh, I can't even remember. Stand By Your Man by Tammy Wynette. That's a big one. So I just had, that's kind of the stuff that I had like to send in for this pop group. Of course, at the time it was kind of embarrassing. It was like, there's no way they're going to pick me, but I'm going to send it in anyway. There was also this little caveat too that it requested, because YM Magazine was based in Manhattan, they requested that submissions be from people in like the tri-state area. I was from Massachusetts. That is definitely not the tri-state area, but my dad worked for a company at the time that was based out of New Jersey. So I said to my dad, I was like, I don't think I can submit because I'm not from the tri-state area. And this is probably pretty shady of my dad and me. This is like shady. However, we did it, and I'm pretty sure it was my dad's idea. I'm gonna clean up my eyebrows with my AOA Studio concealer. This is in Buff. So he was like, I'll take care of it, don't worry. So when he sent the package out, he put the address of his office in New Jersey. Because like every once in a while, my dad did have to travel to New Jersey to like where the main plant of the company was. So he used the address of the company. Again, super shady, but it worked. I'm not encouraging anyone to lie about anything ever. Like I said, I think it was my dad's idea. So anyways, so months go by. Like I said, I think the year rolled over from 2000 to 2001, and I literally didn't hear anything. I don't know the exact month. I want to say it was like 8 or 9 months later. I had completely forgotten about it. Just, it was that kind of thing when we sent it off. I so didn't think I would get picked that I literally never thought of it again. Well, anyways, we get contacted. I guess my dad got a phone call, and it was YM Magazine letting my dad know that I had been picked. So what they had done was they had picked 16 girls. So I was gonna have to go to New York and kind of audition in person. That's not the crazy part, but the crazy thing is, and why it took so long, is because apparently, here's a little insider information. At that time, YN Magazine, their office was in the BMG building. And so BMG, if you don't know what it is, it's like the parent company to, at the time, RCA Records, Arista Records, Bad Boy Entertainment, which was Puff Daddy or P. Diddy or Sean Combs's, whatever he's going by now, I think it's Sean Combs. It was his, record label. And there was also a couple other ones. There was a couple other big, major, record companies. I think it also, encompassed, Arista Nashville, RCA Nashville, all that kind of thing. So apparently BMG or RCA months before had put out an open casting call for a girl group because, girl groups and groups in general were really big at that time. And if something works, it's just duplicated over and over and over again. So they had tried to put together a girl group and they were not impressed with the talent. They didn't get enough submissions. They didn't have enough like the talent that they got. So they kind of scrapped it and decided, we'll just forget about it. We won't do it. So when YM Magazine put this contest out, them not knowing anything about music, it was just supposed to be a fun thing by the magazine. They were just going to do this thing where you get a photo shoot, record a song, and then that's it. It wasn't supposed to be a big thing. So they asked the people at RCA Records, can you just help us kind of field some talent? We don't know anything about this. So when RCA saw the talent and all of the submissions that YM had received, they were floored, and they let YM know, we tried doing a girl group. We would like to actually make this a real thing, and we'll still let them be in the magazine, all that kind of thing, still everything you were gonna do, but we would like to actually take this project on. So it went from a kind of a small fun thing to a real thing. So for eyeshadow, I've had these for a long time and I have not used them yet. They were sent to me by one of my friends some time ago. And like I said, I have been meaning to use them and have not yet. They're I Heart Revolution palettes. This is Cherry Pie and this is Custard Fill. And so I really want to use them. I'm going to try to use some of the colors out of both of them. And there's just these really beautiful color stories. And then I also have this from the Dollar Tree. It's Beauty Benefits Color Squad. It's called Black Magic. So I thought that would add kind of a smokiness. I'm going to start with this shade right here. So they sent me 2 songs, one upbeat, one slow, kind of original songs, and I was to learn those, and then I was gonna these are the songs I would be auditioning. We all got the same songs. So, fast forward, we lived about 4 hours away from New York. That's about the distance between Boston and Manhattan. So we traveled, again, I don't know what month it was, but we go to New York. Oh wait, no, I do know what month it was. It was my dad's birthday. So it was July 21st. This whole story literally takes place in 4 or 5 months. It was just a complete whirlwind. So we go to Manhattan, we go to the BMG building, we go up, I'm in this room with a bunch of other girls. And it's funny, I had never auditioned for anything at the time. Now in my adult life, I've been terrified of auditions. This was my very first audition. I don't think I was even nervous a little bit. I didn't know what to be afraid of. I was so surprised I was there anyway. There I was, 16 years old, getting ready to audition for these people from RCA Records. And I was so not nervous. A little mom and pop theater opens up in town and I'm terrified to audition, but at the time I was not afraid. So it's still kind of crazy to me. I'm gonna take this shade right here, this orange shade, and kind of put it up into my crease a bit. So I'm auditioning, I don't remember much about it other than I sang the songs and all that good stuff. And then me and my dad spent the day in New York. So, that was done. And some time goes by and I get a phone call. I have been picked. So I was picked along with 5 other girls. There were 6 of us. Oh, I didn't tell you about what happened after I lied. So back up, when I got picked that very first time, my dad confessed and said, we are from Boston. We are not from the tri-state area. And they were like, oh, that's okay. No, but we just didn't want to like fly people in from other states. We just wanted to keep it local for people to drive. As long as you pay your own expenses, it's all good. So the fact that we lied was not a big deal, and we did come clean. So yeah, that ended up being just fine. So they call, and I'm to go back to New York to kind of spend a day in the recording studio. And they were gonna kind of narrow it down one more time. They wanted to see whose voices blended best with the other voices, probably who looked good together and all that kind of stuff. So they sent me another song called Stay. And it was kind of like not a ballad, but not really a fast song. And you will be able to hear that song. I will have a link to it down in the description box. But there's more to the story as to how you listen to that song. I'll tell you more about that later. I'm gonna go into like this deep purple shade right here. These are kind of all shimmers, so I'm just kind of wanting to work with them and kind of see what I can't come up with. So I'm gonna change my mind. I'm actually gonna go into this brown shade right here and kind of put that up to my crease. So fast forward, I kind of learn the song and we go to New York to spend a day in the studio, you know, and they had food for us and we recorded and they taught us harmonies and what parts they wanted us to sing and all that good stuff. There was a company called Stray Dog Music, and back in the day, I remember seeing their name on like music videos, like in, you know how they would have the little information pop up. And I remember seeing Stray Dog Music, so I was aware of them, I guess producing, they were like engineers or like a production company of sorts. I don't know the exact thing, but yeah, so I was actually very familiar with that company. I had heard that name before. So we laid down a bunch of vocal tracks. And so once we were done with the day, they let us know that out of the 6 of us, they were gonna pick 3, 4, or 5, depending on the vocal blend. I just did not think I was gonna be picked. You know what I mean, at this point? My dad really didn't think I was gonna be picked. And again, don't remember how much time went by, but we got the call. We absolutely couldn't believe it. They had chosen 4 and I was one of them. So after some time, we went back to New York to finish the song. They also interviewed us in between, you know, us taking turns recording and stuff to like interview us for the magazine, because the magazine, we were gonna have a whole article written up about us and eventually have to do a photo shoot. So they were interviewing us and we finished up the song and all that kind of thing. So I think the second to last trip to New York, as promised, we were gonna do a photo shoot for YM. So I do not love what I have going on here at the moment, but we will make it work as we always do. We somehow always pull it together, no matter what. So I am gonna go into this little eyeshadow single, try to kind of smoke this out a little bit. And then I also have a liquid hard candy eyeshadow that we can dip into as well. This was not quite what I had envisioned for this look. So we go and do the photo shoot. So the photo shoot is kind of a funny story. And of course I've got pictures of that because, you know, it was in a magazine. I've got copies of the magazine. So you guys know I did my nails today, but you guys know I typically have horrible nails. Well, I haven't changed much. I had horrible nails back then too. So they took us to like, I think Brooklyn, to like this like nightclub. So yeah, they did like our makeup and all that kind of stuff like on the sidewalk. And Mally Roncal of Mally Cosmetics, and of course she's like a celebrity makeup artist, did my makeup, did all of our makeup for that photo shoot, which is super cool. The lady that was kind of she was just trying to clean up our nails a little bit. She wasn't really given like major manicures or anything. She was just kind of cleaning up our cuticles and that kind of thing. She looked at my hand and she was like, oh! She gasped when she saw my nails, and I don't blame her. I was like, I know they're bad, aren't they? I'm gonna go into this hard candy eyeshadow duo, and there's like a shimmery side, and then there's like a purple side. I know I'm gonna use the shimmery side. I'm just trying to think if I wanna use the purple side. You know, I think I do. There's really not much to lose at this point because this is not going well for me. I'm putting it on like a little bit of a brush. Okay, this is gonna be the ticket. I have just figured out how I'm going to save this look. This is kind of what I was wanting, like a purple, like something kind of sunset-y looking. Okay, that's actually gonna be kind of pretty. Okay, I'm feeling better. So anyway, so they had a bunch of extras for the photo shoot, and they did all of our hair, put us in, you know, designer clothes, and there were a couple different scenes. So we do the photo shoot, it was fun, and that's the biggest thing that I really remember about it. And so that was done. I'm gonna go into this deep purple shade here and try to put that a little bit more of that on the outer part of my eye and make it a little bit of like a dark purple. So I go home. I think the photo shoot, like I was supposed to go back to school to start my senior year that Friday of like Labor Day weekend or Thursday. I missed my first day or two of school because of the photo shoot, because come on, I had to go do that, So I went back to school, and then I was gonna have to be in New York the next week. Okay, I'm gonna add some mascara. Of course, we're gonna come back to the eye look. I'm gonna use this other end here of this liquid shadow to really kind of add some really pretty iridescence. Then of course I'll finish under the eyes and all that good stuff. So I'm feeling much, much, much better about this look. So we're just gonna move on with the rest and come back to that. I'm gonna use this Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara. So I had a gig, I think in New Hampshire on September the 9th. And right after that, my father and I drove from there down to Manhattan. And we stayed at a Howard Johnson's. I'm gonna add some liquid eyeliner. This is the LA Colors eye marker. So anyway, so me and my dad spend the night in that hotel. And the next night I was gonna be staying with the girls. So I didn't tell you why we were in New York. So the Mercedes-Benz Fall Fashion Show, they do it in Manhattan in the fall, and then they do it in like Paris in the spring. So it was the Mercedes-Benz Fall Fashion Show, takes place in Bryant Park. And so we were gonna perform our song there at the fashion show. So that was all set. We were super, super excited. I mean, this was like a dream come true. I mean, I didn't even fully grasp what I might have seen that day. I certainly didn't imagine what I would end up seeing, but I didn't grasp that like I was gonna be at the fashion show. There were gonna be famous designers there, celebrities. I mean, my mind wasn't even completely wrapped around it. It was all happening so fast. So we get down there, so September 10th I had to rehearse. So my dad drops me off at this studio called SIR Studio, and it's a place where a lot of famous singers and performers rehearse. Apparently the night before we were there, Britney Spears was there rehearsing for the VMAs, and I believe it was the year with the snake, I believe. And so she was rehearsing for that like the night before, which is so crazy. So we spent all day rehearsing, and not only never auditioned for anything, I had never done choreography. So I was a little tough to work with, whereas some of the other girls had some experience. So I was a little bit of a tough case, and our choreographer was actually, his name was Jermaine, and it kills me. I got a picture with him and I together, and that is the one picture I can't find, and it just kills me. I know it's somewhere. I know I've got two of them. They're somewhere, and I probably won't be able to find it before this video goes up. He was very kind, but like at some point he was literally like, "Are you not understanding what I'm telling you?" And I was like, my body just doesn't compute the choreography the way, I've just never done this before. But he was very nice. He was in Jennifer Lopez's Love Don't Cost a Thing video. He was one of the dancers when they do that dance sequence. So he had and he did even more than that. That's just what I remember. So he was like the real deal, and they got him to choreograph and teach us this dance. I'm just kind of blurring the terrible job I did with my liquid liner. So I'm gonna put on these lashes right here. I've never worn them. They look really, really, really pretty. So I'm gonna put them on, and we'll be right back, and I'll continue on with the story. I'm gonna be using my Believe Beauty foundation. This is in Buff. Love this. So we spent the day rehearsing, and eventually I got what I needed to do, kind of said our goodbyes to Jermaine, and as we were finishing up, he was like, "You hear that? Bette Midler is next door rehearsing." And oh my gosh, I just thought that was the coolest thing. Apparently Tori Amos was also there. So we all kind of went and got something to eat. And then me and two of the girls, Veronica and Courtney, one of the other girls lived in Manhattan, so she just like went home. Courtney was from Pennsylvania and Veronica was from Jersey. So I think Veronica used to come with her grandmother, and Courtney used to come with her mom, and I always went with my dad. And so, the people that brought us there, we separated from them. They all found other places to stay, and we were put up in this hotel called the Marcal or the Marcel, whatever it was. It was in Midtown. I don't remember much about us being in the room, so we just kind of settled in for the night. So for bronzer, I'm just gonna use the Believe Beauty Hawaiian Glow bronzer, because I have a new blush that I want to try. So the next morning, we were gonna wake up early, and the people, and I say the people because I know it was people from the magazine, it was hair stylists, makeup artists, God knows who else. I just, it's such a blur, but we, had a bunch of people at our room like really early in the morning to get us ready. I don't even know what time the performance was that day. Of course, this is the morning of September 11th. So I think I had my makeup done already at this time, and I was waiting for like the other girls to have their makeup done. Of course, had the television on. They had actually got another room that way, because our room, you know, these rooms are small, so they'd gotten like another room to do like hair and makeup in and stuff, because there were just a bunch of people everywhere. And so I think it was at some point between my getting my makeup and my hair done, the first plane hit, and we were watching it on TV. And I remember not really quite understanding what was going on. Being in Manhattan, you didn't know any more than being anywhere else. That's one thing I do know. But I remember thinking, you know, that's odd. Of course, you know, you think it's an accident, you know. Well, that's crazy. What are the odds? You know what I mean? So for blush, I'm gonna use this Believe Beauty. I found this at the Dollar General for $3.55. It was on sale. It's in the shade Wink. So, you know, we're just there, and it was just, I forgot to put concealer on. Let me do that, I'll be right back. Okay, got that on. We're gonna finish up the blush. So then the second plane hit, and that's when we kind of knew what no accident. In that hotel room that we were in, if you looked out the window, the Empire State Building was like up to the right. We were pretty close to that. And then you literally had to kind of put your body out and look that way, and you could see the Twin Towers. So I did that. I just kind of, you could open up the window. I guess it was a time when you could still do that. And I looked out and saw the smoke coming from the building. So I got kind of summoned to the other room for them to do my hair. We were just still continuing on. You know, we didn't know anything, you know what I mean? And the TV was in front of me when the first building collapsed. And I just remember not being able to really believe what was happening. They literally had a curling iron in my hair, and I was looking and I was like, the building's falling, the building's falling. And I swear, I don't know if I just imagined this or if I remember it this way. I feel like I remember the room shaking. And I don't know, like I said, if that is my imagination or if in my mind at that time I thought it happened. But I just remember not being able to believe what was happening. I just could not believe it when the building fell, as you know, as everybody did. But I'll never forget watching it in real time. And I was literally had a curling iron in my hair. So for highlighter, I'm gonna use this Wet n Wild Mega Glow Hello Halo liquid highlighter. This is in Rosy and Ready. Kind of looks like a Benefit High Beam. And I don't think I've used this before. It's got a doe foot, which is super cool. And I'm gonna use like this stippling brush. And then I don't even remember the second building falling. I just remember at that point, I was just kind of in a daze. You know, of course, at some point it was called that today wasn't happening. You know what I mean? No, you know, no fashion show, nothing like that. Obviously something really bad had happened. I'm sure, I guess we knew, like I said, I was 16 and, you know, I so distracted by what was going on, you know what I mean? That I guess we knew it was a terrorist attack at that point. I remember having to try to get in contact with my dad. Of course, we had adults there, and really I was the only minor, honestly. I was literally like the only minor. My dad knew where I was staying, and so he was driving, you know, everyone was driving away from the buildings and walking away from that end of town. And apparently he was driving toward it when they were falling, you know, and that had to be super surreal. So he literally had to go the direction of everything to come get me. So, but he did, so he got me and we said our goodbyes to everybody. And we hoped and prayed that we could get out of Manhattan because there were bridges and different things closing and shutting down. So we tried our best to make our way and get out of the city. So this is a recent Dollar Tree find. It's the Hard Candy Translucent Loose Powder. So I'm gonna use this. I have the banana powder and this is the translucent. So we're gonna use this today. So we were able to get out of New York. Courtney and Veronica were not able to get out of New York. They ended up having to stay overnight. So we were very, very lucky to be able to get home that day. And I remember looking back as we were kind of out of the city and just seeing what so many people saw on TV. I remember just looking out the back window and being like, oh my God, you know, oh my God. There's just no way this is not happening. Like, surely this is not happening. So, you know, we made that trip back home. I don't remember anything about the drive. This is really nice. This is like an airbrush finish. Look at that. Gosh, I think all of these face products are like some of my favorites that I own, honest to goodness. So I'm gonna apply some eyeliner to my waterline, and I'm just gonna use my L'Oreal Silk Seam in black. Discontinued, love it. Gonna miss it when it's gone. So now mind you, my mom is at home. My mom was at home during this whole thing. So she was at work, she worked for the school systems. And you know, like I said, it wasn't as easy 20 years ago to just like text somebody or call someone. People had cell phones. It just wasn't like a complete given that every single person had a cell phone. So my mom was in work, and my mom is the type of, my mom's great and everything, but she doesn't always listen. You know what I mean? She sometimes takes whatever information she's given and kind of does what she wants with it. She was in work, and all she heard or understood was that Manhattan blew up. That Manhattan was bombed. So of course, to her, we're dead. Me and my dad are dead. So of course they had to she was in a panic at work. Someone had to drive her home. I think we were able to call her once we got into the car, because I think when you were in Manhattan, the phone system, everything was down. So when we were in Manhattan, we weren't able to call. But I think once we got away, we were able to get in touch with my mom. So the next day I go to school. Now, a lot of my friends and people in my life at the time didn't really know what I was doing all that summer. And if they did, they didn't necessarily believe me. So I got into school that next day, and the guidance counselor was like, where were you yesterday? You have to have a picture taken for your ID. And I think I got the picture. I took that picture that next day as soon as I got into school. I was like, well, I was in Manhattan yesterday. I don't think anyone really grasped that I was actually there that day, and that's why I was not in school. And then to explain why I was there was a long story. So, it was just kind of weird. It was just kind of weird. And after a little bit of time went by, and of course, 9/11 changed a lot of things for a lot of people. Of course, the economy went into the toilet. Of course, a bunch of people died. The whole country was solemn. I mean, it was just horrific, and it made people quit their jobs. It made people's jobs go away just generally, and then it made people quit their jobs. It made people rethink what they were doing and all that kind of thing. So I'm gonna go under my eyes with this shade right here. So the editor at large of the magazine at the time was one of those people that quit their jobs. So needless to say, there were a lot of artists that actually got dropped during this time. So there was no way that this was going to continue because, like I said, it was just too sensitive of a time. The project was scrapped, and I was devastated. I mean, what can you say? You know what I mean? I was 16. This was 9/11. My birthday is on September 29th. So I wasn't even, all this took place and I wasn't even yet 17. I was a young senior because of where my birthday fell. Not because I was super smart or anything like that. It was just where my birthday fell. So this had all happened before I was 17. And, of course it devastated me. Of course I didn't lose anybody in the tragedy. And so, for me it was just how it affected me. Me and my 16-year-old self at the time, I needed to mourn. I needed to mourn this thing that just kind of took my life by storm. You know what I mean? So now I'm gonna do this other end of this liquid shadow. It's beautiful. It looks kind of duochrome-esque, and we're gonna do a little something extra special with the eyes. And this went from being not so great to being beautiful, I feel. So I'm happy. So the magazine, as promised, did come out. We were going to be in what was called the Stars issue. It was going to be coming out in January of 2002. Well, I'd kind of forgotten that magazines actually come out kind of like cars. They actually come out a little bit early. So it actually ended up, my friend Matt, that I was friends with in high school, was in the grocery store. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for the magazine to come out, mainly because I knew people didn't believe me that it was going to be happening. And he was in the grocery store, and he called me and he was like, oh my God. He was like, I'm in Star Market or Stop and Shop, wherever he was. And he was like, I am looking at you in a magazine right now. And he was just reading some, he was so excited. So of course I bought a bunch of them. And the cool thing about that issue of the magazine was because it was a special issue, it was on the stands for 4 months. It had 2 covers. One had Alicia Keys and one had Jimmy Fallon. And they did a little write-up on Mally in there. And then of course they had our photo shoot talking about the entire experience and all that good stuff, and so yeah, it happened. So finally everyone believed me. it was all over, and it was bittersweet. But but that was such a fun thing to happen in my senior year, like to get to be in like YM magazine and have this thing happen. It was very, very special. So I am loving this look right now. Oh, I've got this right here. I forgot I had this. So I'm gonna this is like a hard candy single, and I don't even know the shade, but it's like kind of like a champagne pink. I'm gonna put a little bit of that up into my brow bone. So what happened to the other girls? So one of them, Jessica, there was another Jessica in the group. Like no one has seen or heard from her like since, but me and Veronica and Courtney, we're all friends on Facebook. And so we still keep up with each other's lives to a degree. So Veronica, I believe, still lives in New Jersey, and I know she has a son. And she works for the education system there in New Jersey. And it was actually her that shared where the song ended up, and which I will tell you about in a little bit. So she seems to be doing well in her life. And Courtney, I can't tell this part of the story so Courtney is the better half of Mario Lopez, the Mario Lopez that we all know and love. And they have been married for, gosh, they've been together quite a while now, but they've got 3 children. She posts a lot of funny things on her Instagram, and just, they're just such a cute family. And she ended up doing some stuff on Broadway, which is so cool. She ended up in the revival of A Chorus Line, which is where she met Mario. So that was super cool that she got to achieve that. That's just, it's a dream, it's a dream come true to be able to be a performer and end up on Broadway, And so she's doing really, really, really well. And so Veronica shared the song. So the song, like I said, I will have a link down below. Courtney had contacted me a couple years ago and asked me if I had a copy of the song, which of course I do. And so I was like, absolutely, let me email it to you and everything. And I didn't know what she was using it for. Of course, I just thought, she doesn't have a copy. She wants a copy, of course. And I was so happy that I had a copy. And Veronica, just a couple months or so later, shared, because I don't do like iHeartRadio or podcasts or anything like that. I don't really listen to stuff like that. But she shared on her Facebook where Mario Lopez has and Courtney does the podcast with them at times, if not all the time. But they talked a little bit about the girl group and played the song that came up on my news feed that Veronica shared. And for years, like that song was just never out in the universe. And even though it's not even suitable probably for what music tastes are anymore, I was so happy that it was out there, that like I wasn't like the only one with a copy of this song. And I was just so happy that it ended up, I felt like in that moment it came full circle. It was like Courtney wanted to share it and her husband wanted to share it, and it ended up on this platform, and now it's like it's out in the universe. And it certainly makes it much easier for me to be able to share it. And so I was just so happy. It was like the last piece of it. You know what I mean? I just thought that was the coolest thing. So yeah, I will have a link to that podcast down below. That way you can listen to the song if you're interested. So I'm going to finish with lips, and I'm going to kind of go a little bit bold, I think, because we might as well. Why not? So I'm going to use this Rimmel lip liner. It's in Coffee Bean. So yeah, I spent years being pretty devastated about the whole thing. It was like, that time I could have been a pop star, but I was always riddled with guilt that because I was 16 and I had this very odd thing kind of going on, that I felt bad that I had these feelings because they felt so selfish, for what happened on that day. But what could I say? I was this selfish 16-year-old child that just had this crazy thing going on. It took me years to realize. Of course, I knew the gravity, but again, I was a selfish 16-year-old child. The world revolved around me, you know what I mean? As it does, when you're that age sometimes. And it's funny because kids can either be so tender-hearted and in tune with what adults and people are dealing with, and then on the other end, just be completely absorbed in their own world, and of course, I was no different. Before I finish the lips, I'm gonna put a little bit more of that liquid eyeliner in the corner of my eye. I kind of forgot to do that. And I'm just gonna take like a little thin precision brush. So, like I said, I was devastated, you know what I mean, for years. And of course, as I got older, I know that is exactly what was supposed to happen. My life is wonderful. And then even just in the last couple years, I'm like, it's a good thing that didn't happen. Probably was not ready to handle what all could have happened. So now, as I sit here at 37, almost 37, I now know, I really fully understand how bad it could have been. I mean, it could have been wonderful but it could have been really bad, you know? So I'm gonna use this for the first time. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Lip Gloss. This is in Amethyst. So yeah, I am grateful, and grateful that I got to have the experience. I never did really try to pursue fame in the music industry again after that. I just decided I just wanted to work in the performing industry, and you know, there was a part of me that wanted to go to, you know, Arista Nashville or RCA Nashville and say, hey, you know, this is what I did up in New York a couple years ago, would y'all be interested? But it just seemed so insurmountable, so I just let it go and just decided just to work in the industry, you know, work as a working performer. So as promised, I promised you guys I was going to share more about my life and kind of who I am, and that is such a big part of who I am that I had to share it. That day affected all of us in one way or another, and it will continue to be a part of our history, and we are all connected to it in one way or another, and that's just my story. And like I said, I'm grateful it's not more serious. It was traumatic in one way, and I'm so glad that it wasn't more traumatic in another way, at least for me. And of course, my heart goes out to everybody that is dealing with the 20th anniversary of, you know, the death of a loved one or injuries sustained or anything like that. You know, it just terrible. And I have not been back to Manhattan since. We were gonna go a few years ago. Would have loved to have gone down there to see the memorial. We didn't get to do it, just didn't work out where we were able to. But you know, hopefully someday I will get to go back, because I have not been back since that day, which is crazy, especially now with, you know, who knows now with COVID and you know, numbers going up and all that kind of stuff, if it'll be anytime soon. But I certainly would love to go back and visit someday and see the memorial and just, you know, just go back. I don't want that to be the last day that I was there for the rest of my life. Plus, my husband has never been, so he really needs to experience the joy of New York City at some point. We want to take in shows and all that good stuff, and like I said, definitely visit the memorial at some point as well. So I hope you enjoyed getting to hear my story. Like I said, I'm glad that it's at least a little lighthearted. So where were you all on 9/11? You know, I know a lot of us were at jobs, at school, all that kind of thing. Definitely let me know down in the comments section. But yeah, it is definitely a day that we will never ever forget. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.